Hello dear students. As you all know, in today's scenario is very crucial for us. We are dealing with a very serious situation, that is a pandemic of COVID-19. Today it is not possible to teach you offline inside the class. That's why we are teaching online with the help of Zoom application. The online classes are running as per the schedule, but for the students who joined our school afterwards, means at some later time, they'll not be able to understand what was being taught in the beginning. So for them, and it will be going on as it was going in the last year. We are going to put video lectures also in YouTube, so that while going through Zoom lectures, you can revise the previous things also. If something was missed, if something was skipped due to any unfavorable situation, you can revise it from YouTube. Okay, so from today onwards, I'll try to put one video lecture daily. The chapter which is going on in online lecture, that is a ray optics. So in this manner you can revise, and in online lectures you can study the current things. Okay, so let us start the chapter number 9, ray optics. Why have I started with this one? Actually, I have planned to teach this chapter and to do the practicals of section B side by side, because out of 9 out of 10 experiments, 8 or 9 experiments are there from this chapter only. So that is why I planned like that. I'll do the experiments also, but somehow again the schools were closed for the safety purpose. So again we are going to study it online. So I'm going to start chapter number 9, ray optics. First of all, we'll do ray optics, then after wave optics, and then after we'll start from the chapter number 1. Okay, so ray optics. The thing is, first of all, what is optics? What is optics? Optics is actually a branch of physics in which we deal with the study of light. What is light? Light is what? Light is a form of energy. It is actually what? It is a form of energy. A form of energy which gives us what? Which gives us sensation of sight. Sensation of sight. Okay, light is a form of energy which gives us sensation of sight. Because of this only we see the things around us, we see the world around us. Okay, because of light only. In absence of light, which is darkness, in darkness we are not able to see anything. It is totally black. Okay, so it is light which enables us to see the world around us, and the study of light is called optics. The study of light is called optics. The optics is divided further into 2 categories. One is ray optics, which is also called geometrical optics, and another is wave optics. Okay, in ray optics we try to understand the propagation of light, and all we know that light travels in a straight line. So this is the basic funda of geometrical optics or ray optics. We represent the propagation of light by using rays. Okay, we use rays to denote somewhere the propagation of light. Like suppose if a bulb is here, so from the bulb the light is emitting in all directions. It is emitting in this direction only, in this, all directions. So all directions light will be emitted like this. Okay, so these are the rays of light. These are called rays of light. So basically in geometrical optics we assume that light is traveling in a straight line. And it travels in the form of rays. We represent propagation of light by using rays of light. What are rays? You must have studied in your lower classes that rays must have a starting point, but ending point is not defined, because in the ending point is not defined, it goes till infinity. It's the same happens in the case of light also. Light starts from a source, but where it terminates to infinity. So that's why we are using rays to understand the propagation of light. This particular branch of optics is called geometrical optics also, because in most of the cases, almost in all the cases, we derive the formula, we try to understand by using geometrical concepts. We'll use congruency of triangles, we'll use similarity of triangles, okay, we use alternate interior angles, all the things we have studied in geometry. So we use geometrical concepts to take out one mathematical expression, and that's why it is called geometrical optics. Okay, the second one is wave optics. The second one is wave optics. In this wave optics, what we study, we try to understand the propagation of light in terms of waves. In class 11, the last chapter was waves, and you must have studied that whenever a wave travels through a medium, the particles of the medium oscillates. We studied in a simple progressive wave, plain progressive wave, that particle executes SHM. So we try to understand the propagation of wave by using that propagation equation. That was for a wave equation is given as y is equal to a sine omega t minus kx. You must have studied in class 11th. A is the amplitude, omega is the angular frequency, t is time, k is angular wave number, x is distance from the origin of what, suppose if we are talking about a particle, so distance of the particle from the origin. So we try to understand the concepts in wave optics in terms of this. Moreover, Huygens gives one theory which is called Huygens assumptions, Huygens theory, that Huygens theory of wavefronts. Okay, we'll discuss those things in chapter number 10 in the next chapter in a very detailed manner. But for now, here we try to understand the propagation of light and various phenomena like interference, diffraction and polarization in terms of waves. Okay, in terms of waves, right? So right now our concern is ray optics, because this is our chapter number 9. So let us start ray optics. Before that, the very first definition of the chapter should be, what is optics? So optics is the branch of physics which deals with the study of light. Optics is the branch of physics which deals with study of light. And what is light? Light is a form of energy which gives us sensation of sight. Is it clear? Now let us try to understand some properties of light. Properties of light. Let us discuss some properties of light. Okay, one by one we are going to discuss it. Properties of light. Let us discuss the first one. The very first property is, you must have studied type of waves. When we talk about type of waves, there are three types. One is called mechanical wave, another one is called non-mechanical wave, and the last one is called matter waves or de Broglie waves. What are mechanical waves? Mechanical waves are the waves which needs a medium to travel. Sound wave is an example of mechanical wave. If medium is absent, if there is a vacuum between me and you, no matter how much loud I am shouting, you'll not be able to hear, because medium is not there. So sound cannot travel without medium, right? Sound cannot travel without medium. So basically, sound needs a medium to travel. So sound falls under the category of mechanical waves. The second category is non-mechanical. In the non-mechanical waves, what happens? Waves which can travel in a medium as well as without medium, they are called non-mechanical waves, or they are called electromagnetic waves. Again, electromagnetic wave, there is a chapter number 8. We'll discuss the things in that chapter in a very detailed manner. Okay, but here we need to understand that light is a kind of a non-mechanical wave which can travel in the medium as well as without the medium. Moreover, light cannot travel in all the mediums. The mediums which support the propagation of light can travel only those mediums. Is it clear? So basically, light is an electromagnetic wave which travels in a medium as well as without the medium. And what is the speed of light in vacuum? Since speed of electromagnetic waves, the speed of EM waves in vacuum, for all EM waves it is true. For all EM waves it is true. 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. So light travels with the same speed as light travels with the same speed in the vacuum. Okay. light travel with the same speed in the vacuum? It travels with the speed of 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. You need to understand that when we talk about electromagnetic waves, it is a very broad thing. Visible light is a very small part of it. Visible light is a very small part of it. You must have heard X-rays, you must have heard microwaves, you must have heard gamma rays, infrared, ultraviolet, okay, long radio waves, short radio waves. You must have heard of these waves. So basically these waves are the part of electromagnetic waves. Basically the spectrum of that electromagnetic waves are divided into 7 different kind of waves. Visible light is a very small part of that. Visible light is a very small part of that, and because of this part only we are able to see the things around us. Is it clear? We are able to see the things around us because of this visible part only. So basically light is a kind of electromagnetic wave which travels in a vacuum with a speed of 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. Second thing is, when light travels from one medium to another medium, one medium to another medium, second medium, or you can say another medium, what are the properties which remain same? First of all, speed. Speed changes. Speed changes. The speed of light is different in different mediums. Frequency remains same. Frequency remains same. Why is it so? Because frequency is something which is the property of source. Frequency is something which is property of source. Frequency is something which is property of source. And here, when light travels from one medium to another medium, frequencies has been taken from the source and it remains throughout the propagation. Frequency never changes. So frequency remains constant. And when we talk about wavelength, so wavelength changes. Wavelength changes. Speed, frequency, wavelength. What is the relation between them? Relation is V is equal to nu lambda, where V denotes speed, that is velocity, nu is frequency, lambda is wavelength. So if velocity decreases, wavelength also decreases. If velocity increases, wavelength also increases, but frequency remains constant. The third thing is, light is a kind of transverse wave. Light is a kind of transverse wave. Now, what is a transverse wave? Two kinds of waves on the basis how the particles are vibrating. One thing is longitudinal, if you remember. Longitudinal waves, they travel in the form of compressions and rarefactions. They travel in the form of compressions and rarefactions. And if the wave is propagating in this direction, then the particles, they oscillate like this. Means the vibration of the particles takes place along the direction of propagation. Parallel to the direction of propagation, they vibrate. Another wave is transverse wave. Here, if the wave is traveling like this, the particle oscillates like this. Means perpendicular to the direction of propagation. So these kind of waves are called transverse wave, and light is a transverse wave. Light is a transverse wave. Here the particles, the electric field vector and the magnetic field vectors in an electromagnetic wave, they vibrate perpendicular to the direction of propagation. Okay, so light is a transverse wave. We need to understand that thing. Next thing you need to understand the speed of light. As we have studied, from one medium to another medium, speed changes. But in vacuum, speed is maximum in vacuum. The speed is maximum in vacuum, and it is equal to what? 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. Besides these properties, there are some more properties like reflection of light, refraction of light, interference of light, diffraction of light. So all these phenomena, when light shows with these phenomena, we'll discuss when the topics are coming in front of us. As per the topics going on, we'll discuss these kind of things. Okay. So these are the basic introduction of light. Okay. Now we are going to study about the assumptions which we make before studying the ray optics. For ray optics, actually what is there in your syllabus, it is called first order geometrical optics. It is called first order geometrical optics, and there are some assumptions we make. Okay, there are some assumptions we make to understand the proving or the understand the formulas. Okay, so this is called first order geometrical optics. So let us discuss the assumptions to study ray optics, and it will remain same throughout the chapter. Whenever they come in front of us, I'll discuss them again, but here let me tell once for all. Okay, one for all, so that we can understand whenever they come. Is it clear? So there are some assumptions. The basic one is, first, light travels in a straight line. Light travels in a straight line. Now you'll be like, there is nothing new. We already knew it. There is nothing new for you. We already knew it. Actually, what happens? Light, sometimes it bends from its path. It happens because of scattering. It happens because of this Tyndall effect. You must have studied. Okay. So whenever light strikes on a surface, it strikes on a particle which size is comparable to order of its wavelength. So what happened in that case? The light deviates from its path. Okay, so that thing we are not going to consider. Here we are going to consider is the light travels in a straight line. In other words, I am saying you, it is a very simple words. In other words, I am saying you, light, to whatever surface the light is coming, say mirror, lenses, the size of those lenses or size of that mirror should be very, very, very greater than the wavelength of the light. If the size of the mirror, size of the lens is comparable to the wavelength of the light, then what happens? It will show some different kind of properties. It will not show what we are going to study in this chapter. Okay, so this is a basic thing. We assume that light travels in a straight line. In other words, in more technical terms, you can say, I'm telling you that light is falling on surfaces whose size is greater than, not greater, very, very, very greater than the wavelength of the light. Okay, so light travels in a straight line. Second thing is about sign convention. Suppose if you are talking about mirror, since you have studied these things in class 10th, okay, so I am taking a bit liberty. You must have seen these ray diagrams. This is a concave mirror basically. So ray of light is going this way. So we need to measure the distances, okay? We need to measure the object distance, we need to measure the image distance, we need to measure the focal length, we need to measure center of radius of curvature. So many distances along the principal axis we need to measure. And when we need to measure these distances, we must have a sign convention. And for sign convention, there is a thumb rule that direction of incident light is taken positive. It's taken positive. Direction of incident light is taken positive. So basically, if we talk about a convex lens, I'm telling you, I'm taking a bit liberty. You must have studied these things in class 10th, okay? So this is a convex lens. If ray of light is coming towards this direction, okay, and after falling through, the light goes like this. So this direction is considered to be positive and this direction is considered to be negative because incident light is that way. Okay, this is a very simplistic case. In class 12th, you are going to study ray diagrams like this. Here a plane mirror is there. So ray of light falling on this one, then falling on this one. So ray of light goes like this, then goes like this, So in this case, the taking decision about positive and negative may be kind of difficult in comparative to this. But if you know the concept that this direction, because this direction is the direction of incident light, is going to be taken positive, the rules of sign convention becomes a bit easy. Okay. So direction of incident light is taken positive. The most important one. Third thing. We take aperture, all the apertures of what? Mirrors and lenses. Mirrors and lenses. What is aperture? Aperture is actually the diameter of the circular circumference. Okay, the diameter of the circular circumference. The apertures are very small. Apertures we take very small. A small comparison to their wavelength, comparative to their radius of curvature, right? Okay, a small means whenever we say small or big, it should be always in comparative. If I say this marker is big, so we need a reference to say that it is bigger in comparison to that. So if I say this is small, so small in comparison to what? Small in comparison to the focal length of the mirror, the radius of curvature of the mirror, the focal length of the lens, the radius of curvature there of their spherical surfaces. Okay. The fourth thing, we considered only paraxial rays. Now what is paraxial rays? Paraxial rays. We considered only paraxial rays. Now the thing is, what is paraxial? Just try to understand. If this is a convex lens, a bigger one, okay, so the rays which are nearby its edge, these rays are called marginal rays. These rays are called marginal rays, right? These rays are called marginal rays. Paraxial rays are very close to the principal axis. They are very close to the principal axis. Okay, so these rays are called paraxial rays. So we consider only paraxial rays because of this spherical surface. If you study in a very detailed manner, which I am going to tell you, okay, don't worry about that. So this marginal rays and this paraxial rays, they focus at some different points. Although by definition they are parallel to the principal axis, they must cut at the same point. But it happens in practically when we observe that paraxial rays, they cut at different points. So two different images are there. This is called spherical. This is not in your syllabus. Okay, spherical aberration is not there. But for your knowledge only, this is called spherical aberration. To avoid this spherical aberration, what we do? Either we stop marginal rays or we stop paraxial rays. So we do not consider this marginal rays. We consider only paraxial rays. Okay. So these are the some basic assumptions. Okay. The first one, light travels in a straight line. In other words, all the surfaces we take for reflections and refractions, they are very greater than the wavelength of light. Direction of incident light is taken positive. It is about the sign convention. Apertures about mirror and lenses are very small, and for small also we take paraxial rays. Okay, so these are some basic assumptions to study ray optics. Okay, now let us move ahead and let us try to understand the next topic. The next topic we need to study is reflection of light. Reflection of light. Okay, reflection of light. Now, what is reflection of light? Let us see. We say that whenever a ray of light falls on a smooth, shiny and polished surface, a ray of light falls on a smooth, shiny and polished surface, let that be that smooth, shiny and polished surface, and this is the ray of light which is falling on it. So, okay. So whenever a ray of light falls on a smooth, shiny and polished surface, it bounces back. it bounces back. So this phenomena, the bouncing back of light, this phenomena is called reflection of light. Whenever light falls on a smooth, shiny and polished surface, it bounces back, and this phenomena is called reflection of light. What we see in the plane mirror, it shows our image, a virtual image. That image forms due to a reflection of light. Whenever a mirror is there, so in mirrors, reflection of light happens. So basically, you see your image in surface of water. That image is not that much clear as we see our image in mirror. Why is it so? Because water is a transparent medium and light falls on the water surface. Only some part of light is being reflected. Most of the light is being refracted in the water. So what happens? We see our image, but it is not that clear. But when we see our image in mirrors, all the lights which falls on the mirror, they are reflected back, and that's why the image is very bright and it is very much visible. It is very much clear. Is it clear? So this is how we try to study. Okay, this is how the reflection is there. So this ray is called, you have studied this thing in class 10th also. So this ray is called incident ray. This ray is called incident ray, and this ray is called reflected ray. Reflected ray. This point where the light falls, this point is called point of incidence. Point of incidence. And at point of incidence, we draw a normal. Normal, the word normal means perpendicular. The word normal means perpendicular. Perpendicular to what? Perpendicular to the reflecting surface we draw. Perpendicular to the reflecting surface we draw. So this is normal. The angle made between incident ray and the normal, it is called angle of incidence. It is called angle of incidence denoted by I. The angle made by the reflected ray and the normal, it is called angle of reflection, and it is denoted by small r. There are some laws of reflection. The first law says that the incidence angle is always equal to the reflected angle. The angle made by the incident ray and the normal is same as the angle made by the reflected ray and the normal. Okay? And the second law is incident ray, comma, reflected ray, comma, and normal, comma is not required, and normal lie in a same plane. What that means, that lie in a same plane? Okay, what that mean, lie in a same plane? Just try to understand. Say this is your mirror, this is your mirror, okay? One ray of light is falling this way, and ray of light is going that way. Okay, one ray of light is falling this way, ray of light going that way. Is it clear? This particular point is your point of incidence, right? Now at the point of incidence, I need to draw perpendicular to the surface. So perpendicular to the surface must lie in the plane which consists incident ray and the reflected ray. What I am trying to say is, say this is your incident ray, this is your reflected ray. So normal should be like that, it should be in the between of this, so that all these three will be in the plane. Normal cannot be like this. Normal cannot be like this. Normal cannot be like this. Normal should be in such a manner that incident ray and the reflected ray, they are in a plane. So normal should be in that plane only. If you see the sidewise, this is your incident ray, this is your reflected ray. Normal should not be visible. Normal should be somewhere here. It should not be visible. It cannot be that side. Now it will be visible. Now it will be visible to you. So it should be in a plane. It simply means there should be a common plane where the normal must lie. So incident ray, reflected ray and the normal, they must lie in a same plane. So these are the laws of reflection, right? Now let us discuss The image formation by a plane mirror. The image formation by a plane mirror. The image formation by a plane mirror. When we're done with plane mirror, we'll do spherical mirrors. First of all, plane mirrors. Before starting this, we need to understand a thing which is called virtual image. What is a virtual image? Virtual image is the image which cannot be obtained on a screen. It does not form by the real intersection of reflected or the refracted lights. First of all, we need to understand the concept of viewing the objects, right? Like suppose if I'm able to see this marker, what is the basic propagation of light behind this? There are some sources of light in the room. From those sources of light falls on this object. Light gets reflected back and it reaches to my eyes. Basically, I need to understand that, and you also need to understand that light is being reflected in all the directions. If it would have been reflected only towards me, and it would not be reflected towards the camera of this mobile, so you'll not be able to see this marker. Only I'll be able to see this marker. So light is being reflected in all directions. If that source of light is off and in the room it is complete dark, neither I'll be able to see this marker nor you will be. So basically from source of light, some anonymous source of light comes, falls on an object, and from the object light is being reflected to our eyes. So basically this thing for our eyes only, it is a kind of source of light. It is a kind of source of light because light is coming from this. It is very much true, it is being reflected and then it is coming towards us. Is it clear to you? Now the second thing is how the images are being formed. So basically you need to understand, suppose I am able to see this tip. So from this tip, rays are coming to my eyes and they forms an image on the retina. From the retina it is being carried through the optical nerves through the brain. So from this point, number of rays are coming. So if number of rays, suppose after being reflected or refracted, are going towards a point, so I am able to see that point also. If this light is coming towards my eye and after being reflected or refracted, lights are being intersected or appear to intersect at some point. What I'm saying is, like suppose if I'm able to see this object, say this is my human eye. Okay, this is my human eye. So if I am able to see this point, now what is happening? If I am able to see this point, rays are traveling from this point and reaches to my eyes. I am able to see this. Okay. So basically the light which are coming to my eye, they are intersecting at this point. And that's why I am able to see this object. Now suppose to my eye or your eye, say this is our eye. Okay. From somewhere the light is coming. We don't know from where it is coming. It intersects at this point and then it reaches to our eye. What we'll be able to see? Are we able to see this light? No. We'll be able to see this point again because that is the similar case. Maybe these lights are reflected or refracted. Maybe these lights are reflected, being refracted from lens or being reflected from a mirror. So whenever a reflected light or refracted light, two or more reflected or refracted light come into my eyes, I'll be able to see the images. Now images can be real, images can be virtual. If they are real, light will be intersecting in reality. if they are virtual, so the light to my eyes, light will be reaching like, say this is my eye, and light will be like somewhere, like suppose light is coming towards my eye like this, okay, say here is some lens and light is coming towards my eye like this. So what I am going to do, I am going to extend them and behind, so I'll be able to see this image. I'll be able to see the intersection point. That intersection point can be real, that intersection point can be virtual. So if that intersection point is virtual, it is not, rays are not intersecting each other in reality, we need to extend them behind the lens, behind the mirror to get that intersection point. So that image will be virtual. But if that intersection point is the real one, we'll see a real image. So what is a virtual image? Virtual image is basically, it is formed by a virtual intersection of refracted or reflected lights. Is it clear? I'll make a ray diagram, we'll be understanding this thing very much clearly. Okay. So first of all, we'll need to make diagram for a point object. For a point object. Point object. Now just try to understand. If say this is your plane mirror, okay, here is an object, say O, okay, from the O, light is coming towards the mirror, it falls like this, and since it is falling mirror on normally, it will be reflected back to the same path. In this case, the angle of incidence, angle of reflection, they both are 0. They are not 90, they are 0. Okay, because incident ray, reflected ray and the normal, they basically they are on the same line. Okay, another ray falls somewhere here, reflected back, goes here. Now just see, I am removing these headings, right? Now suppose this reflected light will be going like this and this light is going like this. If it is the eye, human eye, say this is your observer number 1, so these lights are reaching to him. So where he will be able to see that intersection point? For this light and for this light, there is no intersection point. This light is starting from here, this light is starting from here, there is no intersection point. So what we need to do, we need to extend the rays behind the mirror like this. This ray is somewhere here, this ray is somewhere here. So what we'll able to have? We'll able to have a image, and this image is going to be the virtual one. Why is it virtual? Because rays are not intersecting each other in reality. We need to extend them behind the mirror. Okay, but what rays we need to consider depends upon the position of observer also. Like suppose if observer is not here, observer is somewhere here. Now what we need to do? We need to choose, now this ray and this ray is of no use. Say this is your observer number 2. This ray and this ray is of no use because these rays are reaching to the observer 1. These are not reaching to the observer 2. So it doesn't mean that observer 2 is not able to see that image. He will be able to see. Just see how. One ray falls on the mirror like this, another ray falls on the mirror like this. Okay. This ray will be reaching towards like this, and this ray will be reaching towards like this. Let me change the position of observer. I have made a different rays. So this is your observer number 2. Now he will be able to see the same image because the reflected lights are reaching towards, these two reflected lights are reaching towards them. Is it clear? So he will be able to see the same image. Okay, this is how we make the ray diagrams. Moreover, if you consider these two triangles, say O, this point is A, this point is B, OAB and IAB, this angle is 90 degree, one side is common, and if you apply small geometry, this will give you idea why is it called geometrical optics. Say this is called your angle of incidence, this is called your angle of reflection. We extend the normal, this is R, so this will be R. Okay, this angle is going to be 90 minus I, this angle is going to be 90 minus R. And if 90 minus I and R are equal, 90 minus I and 90 minus R will be equal. So these two triangles OAB and IAB, they are congruent to each other. One angle equal, this side is common, this angle and this angle is also equal. So they are congruent, and if they are congruent, it is very much easy to say that OA is approximately equal to OA. I have written wrong. It should be AO is approximately equal to AI. AO is object distance, AI is image distance. So basically for a plane mirror, it is very much necessary that the distance of the object, it should be same as the distance of the image from the mirror. So distance of the object and distance of the image from the mirror, it should be same. Okay, so this is about the point object. For extended object and for other things, we'll do in the next video lecture. So you go through these video lectures also to revise the previous things. And for the students who are taken admission later on, okay, who have started their classes late because of some reasons, they should watch this lecture to start to do the beginnings. Okay, so this is all for the day. Thank you. Keep yourself safe. Okay, avoid going outside. Be in your home. Be safe. Thank you.